My name is Bill Finch, Mayor of the City of Bridgeport. We're joined by Captain Viadero, who is the head of the Detective Bureau that did all of the hard legwork on this case to bring the guilty to justice. And we have Assistant Chief Dr. James Nardozzi here, who is also going to speak on behalf of the Bridgeport Police Department. Today we're here very proud of the Bridgeport Police Department and their hard work, and proud of the Bridgeport community, the citizens who came forward, the many citizens who came forward to help our hardworking men and women of the Bridgeport Police Department bring the guilty to justice. If there's a lesson to be learned, number one, crime doesn't pay, and you won't get away with murder in the city of Bridgeport. We are dedicated to routing out violent gun violence in this city. We need help from the Congress and others to do it, but we are going to do our level best to make sure that the guilty are brought to justice. And if people think they're going to get away with this, they have to know that the Bridgeport Police Department and the community are locked together in this fight. And we are not going to rest until these cases are brought swiftly to justice. And I think it was so important that our Bridgeport Police Department and the community work together quickly, because we know in these cases with loosely associated groups of people, oftentimes having grudge matches, that there might be escalation. And with this move today, bringing the guilty into custody, $750,000 bond, there's no likelihood that the family's going to get it. I think that we can rest easier that this particular fuse has been extinguished. I would also like to express our condolences to the Pettway family. You know, Christopher Pettway is a 26-year-old young man from Bridgeport. I have a Christopher at home who's my son, who's 26 years old, and there's no parent in the city of Bridgeport that doesn't understand how Jackie Pettway feels. But if there's any solace, there's some solace today in the fact that our great detective work in the City of Bridgeport Police Department has been fruitful. And with that, I would like to turn it over to our Assistant Chief, Dr. James Nardozzi.
Thank you, Your Honor. First, again, after what the Mayor said, to the victim, to the Pettway family, certainly our thoughts and prayers are with you. Captain Viadero and all of your detectives and those under your command, a job well done. They did an excellent job in their relentless investigation and search for the perpetrator of this crime. And to the Bridgeport community, a simple message: gun violence will not be tolerated here in Bridgeport. Right? It's time to put the guns away. Right? We will not tolerate this violence, and that's really one of the main stories here. Okay? We have an obligation to protect all the citizens of Bridgeport. We have an obligation to the victims. It's an obligation that we take seriously. So to the community, this is another call. The gun violence has to end, because when there's gun violence, we will not stop until we find those responsible. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Captain Viadero, head of the Detective Bureau.
Chief, thank you. Just like to say a few words. I'd like to thank our detectives. It was a tireless effort. All of our detectives in the Detective Bureau, particularly Detective Correct, Detective Ortiz, Detective Texera, and a number of detectives that take me too long to name. I mean, they've worked tirelessly on this case since the time the homicide occurred. It was particularly disturbing to us because it was in broad daylight, at a time when there was a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of children up there. I'd like to thank members of the Patrol Division for contributing information. So it was a great effort by all, and I think like the Chief said, we're not going to tolerate it. There was a swift arrest, and Mr. Rogers will have his day in court.
Captain Viadero, is the man who was arrested, is he a suspect in either of the other two shootings?
Yeah, it's an ongoing investigation. We have a number of other shootings that occurred in that 2-day period. Not going to eliminate him as a suspect. It's still an ongoing investigation.
Can you expand on the motive, Detective?
The motive right now we know is from a dispute that occurred earlier in the summer and between individuals that are known to one another. Without getting into a lot of the details, because it's still an ongoing investigation, we're not going to discuss that at this time.
As far as Pettway's circumstance, or his being on the street at the time, his family claims he was an innocent bystander.
Yeah, to the best of our knowledge right now, he was out there with a number of other individuals. We don't believe he, had anything to do with the act of crime. We think he was an unintended target.
4 weeks ago, you had
Part of the deal. We all got to do it.
4 weeks ago, you had this kid in custody, racketeering charges. Judge walked him after an appeal by State Representative Horton Groggins. I mean, how does that work? I mean, you're talking to the, trying to keep these people in jail, and then, have something like that happen?
All I can tell you is he appears to be guilty of this shooting, and justice will prevail.
I mean, but here we had a prosecutor asking for this guy to just be in jail, and we had this hearing, and State Representative Grimes got up and said, "Oh, he's a kid. He's never
I think
been
you,
involved in
I
it."
think you
gonna
have to
comment on
ask
what people do in their
Representative
other
Brogan about
jobs.
that.
Well, but no, I'm not going to comment. Her job is as a defense lawyer. I don't know the case that you're talking about. I don't know the conditions of that case. All I know is, as mayor, I've got to keep people safe. And the more of these hoodlums that are locked up, the better we're going to be. And the more of those hoodlums not getting their hands on illegal weapons. This was a semi-automatic weapon. I don't know the caliber, and I don't know the type. But I can pretty much guarantee you they didn't come here for a gun permit. And they probably weren't owning it legally. 40% of the weapons in the United States of America are bought illegally they're bought legally without background checks. 40%.
But you
So
think
we have
judges
no
maybe,
way-
if they had listened to the prosecutor and kept this guy in jail instead of giving a suspended
You
sentence?
think the judge should have known that this guy was going to go shoot somebody?
I think
Dan,
there
you're
was
projecting
put on the
things I
record
can't
that
comment on.
this kid was a gang member and had a serious background.
Well, I can't comment on that case. We're not here to talk about that case. I have no knowledge of that case, and I don't think anybody here has knowledge of that case. What we do have knowledge of is this was a hoodlum who probably used an illegal weapon, and if he does it in Bridgeport, or anybody does it in Bridgeport, the community will come forward and testify and provide evidence to the Detective Bureau to make sure that he goes away for a long period of time. Now, I can't comment on the judge's case at some other time and place. I wasn't aware of what you're talking about.